All right, so today I'm going to give a talk about how to use Let's Encrypt on the Google Cloud platform. Specifically, it's a pain point that I've had where how many out there have their own apps and pay premium amounts of money for SSL certificates? Okay, so one of the barriers to entry for me to really start doing kind of my pet projects was I didn't really want to release something out there and not have it be secured and then expect people to then want to use it. Has anyone had that pain point? Okay, so it was like I kind of felt like if you know the history behind Duke Nukem, the Duke Nukem franchise, the last game that they released took, I think, upwards of 10 to 12 years, and it was because they kept seeing new technologies come out and they were like, oh, well, they'd rewrite the whole game, and then they'd rewrite. And so it kept going. I'm like, I don't want to pay for a certificate, but that's what I need to get going on some of my pet projects. So finally, within the last year, Let's Encrypt was announced and released from beta for people to use, general public to use. Is everyone familiar with Let's Encrypt? Raise your hand if you're not familiar with it. Okay, so Let's Encrypt, and a lot of this, I don't have slides really. That was my slide. A lot of this is just going to be, I'm going to show you kind of the steps to get started with it. I will upfront admit I am not an SSL expert, and I am definitely not a cloud platform expert. I just had something I needed to do, and I got it done, so I thought I'd share it with the rest of you. So Let's Encrypt is free SSL certificates. They are time limited though to 90 days. And so upfront, it's like, well, if you pay premium dollars for SSL certs, you get them for what, a year? You can maybe, I don't know what the extent is, but you can pay and get a little longer duration on these. The Let's Encrypt certificates they will work. I had a bad experience with a domain registrar where I bought SSL certs, but they were like, yeah, free SSL cert with, purchase of a domain. And it didn't work in Firefox and IE because of the way it was, the certificate just didn't function in those browsers. And so to me, it was like, well, that's completely ineffective because that's going to eliminate a lot of the population. So Let's Encrypt has command line tools and a few other things, but they specifically, if you look at how it works, they're like a third party. They go through a registrar certificate authority that allows your certificate to be legitimate for whatever purpose you might need it. And so this was like, yes, finally, I don't have to pay. Now I can have little pet projects to test out and not have to worry about paying for a certificate. Okay, so I'm kind of telling this story as I go. Let's Encrypt came out, and then I started moving a lot of my stuff to the cloud. And so how many people here have used Google Cloud Platform? How about AWS? Okay, so I just started working at my actual job with AWS, and I will be honest, if you haven't done anything with Google Cloud Platform, I would highly recommend it because the headaches I'm having with AWS are moderately alleviated in Cloud Platform. So some of the things like documentation, for one, and I don't know if this is trouble that you've had, but Amazon has done too good of a job with their search engine optimization. So when I go to troubleshoot a problem, I get their documentation, which is the problem. I don't get Stack Overflow or non-technical documentation or examples. But so the cloud platform has a number of different products in it. The one I'm specifically looking at today is the App Engine product. How many people have used App Engine? I know Jason has because he did the was it Cloud Platform contest, something like that. So periodically they've had contests where they'll give you $300 or they'll give you some amount of money to use for processing on cloud platform. But so App Engine has a number of backends that you can use. PHP Node is just like within the last few months released. Java, and then the one we'll be using today is Go. How many people have used Go or Golang, depending on, okay. So there's a few Gophers out there, that's good. How many people use it for work? So if you're not familiar with Go, I'm not going to go into big technical details because I'm also not a Go programmer. I just happen to like it. I moved from Python to Go and kind of I'm picking it up as I go. So App Engine is under their compute stack, and then they have storage and networking. They have some cool things to do enterprise-wide. Projects, App Engine is great. You can spin something up real quick, send it out. It'll be published to like domain.appspot.com real quick, and you'll see how fast it is. But so once you get into the product, and if you haven't signed up before, I think they give you like $300 within some amount of time to like crank away. I've never met the minimum requirements on most of the limits, so I don't know what $300 would actually get you. Maybe a couple months of AdWords or something. I don't know. But they have the Cloud Console, and so the Cloud Console, each of your projects, and that's probably really small, isn't it? Let's bump that up a little. Can everybody in the back see or roughly see that? No, I can bump it up even more. Now, better 1 or 2. Okay. So all of your projects, and a project, mentally, I always go to App Engine, but a project could span whatever products in the cloud platform that you're using. So you may have App Engine, like one project may have App Engine and Compute Engine and BigQuery and whatever else you're using. These are some of my personal ones, and we're gonna, scares me to death. So if this goes wrong, I'm okay. I've come to terms with it. But we're gonna use an app that a friend of mine and I have been working on, and do a secure domain for it. So the other thing, so there's Cloud Platform, and then the other thing that goes really well with Cloud Platform for personal projects is the Google Apps for Work. How many people here use Google Apps for Work? Oh, more than I expected. Okay, so on a personal level, you end up paying, I have a discount code if you want it. I get like a kickback, but it's $5 without the discount. It's like little over $4 with the discount, something like that, a month, and you get Google apps, so Gmail, Inbox, all your Drive stuff, and it's all within your organization. So I'm going to log in and show you that. And we're going to cheat a little bit because the GDG has an account. I need to Google. Oh, I guess I need to. So if you can't guess, I'm a huge Google fan. So the other thing that goes hand in hand with Google Apps for Work, Google Cloud Platform, is Google Domains. So it's not impossible to do this without Google Domains. So I've done it through another domain registrar, but it's real handy. So I'm gonna walk you through the whole process, kind of without filling some of it out because it's already filled out. So this is the Google Apps for Work, and this is just like a personal account. So it's not like it does anything real cool. We have the other organizers listed in here, and like billing and things, you have to put in a credit card for the monthly fee and whatever all of that does. But the one that goes kind of ties together is the domain handling. So when you do Google Apps for Work, you put in your domain. So if you purchase a domain, I purchased gdgtriangle.com, right? So we purchased that through Google Domains, you guys get full access to all my stuff here. Oh, and this is okay. So this is the one that isn't on there. So Google Domains hosts all my personal stuff, and we're looking at the GDG. So I have the GDG stuff is on another domain registrar, but this is the same setup here. So if you've purchased it through Google Domains, it will link up without any setup at all. If you don't, you have to go put in some records in your domain registrar to tell it to use Google Apps for Work for the DNS side of things. And so I have that set up on this. So you've got domain, Google Apps for Work, and then that you also can manage your apps, which, sorry, wrong one. So in this one, they recently changed it so that you go to this cloud console. So this is what I just loaded. And in this case, I don't know if I can switch between this, but we'll do that. So the nice thing, and if you're a huge Google fan like I am, you just expect you'll be able to switch profiles pretty quickly. So if you have like stuff for work and stuff for personal, it's not going to be a big deal to switch. So this is the GDG, has a couple of sites that we've done. We've got out there. There is nothing actually hosted on our website. It's just a blank page right now. So we're going to look at that one and secure that one. And so this one contains, if you look at it has App Engine. And so when you get into an app, you create the project and you say, here's what I want to use. And then, so since I'm using App Engine, let's see, I'm trying to remember where, let's do this. There we go. So it has the same settings and things that you'd see in AWS. And so when you actually click on these, there's the permissions and stuff. Obviously, they're going to try to level the cloud playing field. So if you see something in AWS that you're like, oh, I wonder where that is, there's usually really good documentation to cross those barriers. So we'll do the web one because I have it all set. And what we're going to do, so because it has, there we go. So because it has App Engine running, this is where you set up all your stuff for App Engine. I don't even bother with personal stuff. I don't even bother. Like the tweaks that you would do for enterprise level are there. You don't really need to if you're just doing something to test with small things. Okay, so this is the App Engine app, but what we're really concerned with is this Cloud Console or Cloud Shell. And so this gives you a command line into your instance, which takes a little bit, but it runs all in the web. So you get a shell, and the process is fairly straightforward. You go download the Let's Encrypt repository, you run Let's Encrypt, and generate. So it'll ask you two secret questions that you have to then post on your website or wherever you're securing, and then essentially you pause while it's asked those. You go upload your code to App Engine and then let it run its thing, and then you're good. You're secure, and you go grab the certificates it gives you. So we'll just run through the whole thing while we're here. Okay, so Let's Encrypt. Can everybody see this fairly well? So Let's Encrypt has a repository out on GitHub, and essentially I start from where I'm at. Anyone who's like a Linux guru and is like, well, why didn't you put it here or there? I don't know. I just did what they told me. So, oh, yeah, let me. Oh, hold on. The nice thing is with the Cloud Shell too, you have sudo access And there's a whole lot of magic, container magic behind all this, and I don't know that either. All right, so once it clones it, you get whatever the latest update is. You only need to clone it once, so, and you'll see why. So then if we go into Let's Encrypt, I can move this up too. So the Let's Encrypt Auto is the standalone. There are packages for like Apache Nginx. There's some out of the box stuff where it's like one press certificates. Unfortunately, there is an open issue that someone has requested that for Cloud Platform. They don't. It's being looked at, but I don't think it's like high on the list of things to do. But the Let's Encrypt Auto executable there is what will run, and then you send it some command line flags, and it'll tell you kind of what to do. So if you need a standalone, like if you're trying to secure, you could even theoretically secure your local box if it has a domain resolution to it with a certificate. I haven't gone that far. Like this is as far as I've done with Let's Encrypt. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do with it. There's also auto renew, and I'll talk about renewing like at the end. I haven't figured that quite out on Cloud Platform yet, and there's I'll share with you, like I could use some help with that. So once you run, and maybe I have the command here. So in this case, you're supposed to be able to run renew. We'll just go ahead and do a brand new one. And so we're going to say manual means you're going to manually go out and put the secret keys out for it to go ping. The non-manual way is it would just host its own web server, but because the ports are already kind of controlled by App Engine, you can't, like, it'll throw an error. And so that may happen in other environments too, where if you already have a web server running, there's ways to work around it. I haven't figured out a way to do that within this context. So in this case, we're going to do a cert only. And so what the nice thing is, so you only have to run the clone once because it will go out and grab the latest versions and things and update everything, all the dependencies that it has. And then after a while, so then the next thing it'll do is it'll come back with what domains or what, like, I don't think it'll pick this up, but you'll have to put in a contact email address, and then the domains you want to register. You can actually do as many as you want, as long as they're all under the same domain. So in our case, we're going to do the www and the bare domain. So that, I think you could do some really tricky things with App Engine, because subdomains are part. You can use modules and instances and things to do even deeper subdomains. I didn't really, for this purpose, I think that would take a lot longer for me to figure out. But so we'll do the web subdomain and then the bare domain. And while that's going, so we'll kind of move to all right. So all right. So the two pieces that are required for an App Engine, a Go App Engine app, are an app.yaml and then the main file for it to run. The settings in the app, pretty straightforward and similar. If you've used App Engine, any of the backends will look similar to this. You'll have your application and then whatever runtime you're using. So it could be Node, PHP, Java, etc. And then for Go specifically, and I don't know if the others do this, you tell the handler is the script, and so there's some stuff behind the scenes that wires it up to run this. And then the Go, and you could probably, there's probably better ways to do this. As I said, I'm still kind of learning Go as I'm moving through stuff. The catch is to know that all Google's the Let's Encrypt challenges will all be the same format. So let me bump this up here. Is that good for on the back? Can you guys? We can go big. Essentially, so you have your default handler for just the root. You could probably throw this out because it for purposes of the challenge, it doesn't really ever ping that. But the key thing is, so each challenge will come through a subfolder called .well-known Acme challenge, and then within that, there's going to be a common string. So they'll have some string that's on that, and then there'll be a common string between the two. And so if you don't need to take the part that they request, because you just append it to, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute here. Okay, so who am I doing this for? All right. And you should probably read the terms of service. I've clearly done that. And so we're going to do, this is for GDG triangle and dub. All right, so, they're letting you know, honestly, it's not my machine, so you go right ahead. All right, so this is where the challenge comes in. And so, let's see here. Let me hide. What can I do? Full screen. Oh, it's not going to hide it. Okay. So in this, so the last part of the URL that's being requested actually gets, so if you look, and it took me a few tries to actually notice this. So that string that they're requesting, when you respond to the challenge, it's the part before the period. And so then the format for all of these is the same. So, programming it makes sense to, okay, right, you don't need to handle that part, just pull it from the URL that they requested. And then the only part you actually need is the last part here. And I'll put this out on GitHub. I may have put it out there. I've refined it over a few tries. And so in this, the challenge part, this is the part after the period, and then we'll essentially we concatenate them together with a period, and you're good to go. That's all this does. So it essentially, Let's Encrypt sends the challenge to the URL that you gave, and you kick back what the last part of the URL plus the secret string, and you're essentially saying, yeah, I own the domain and I have control over it, and then you're golden. Okay, so in this case, I need to put this in here. And web. Okay, so the other thing that's on here, and I made this mistake a few times. You're all gung-ho to be secure. You put your app.yaml and you say always be secure. Well, the problem is that will make your Let's Encrypt not work, because it will actually redirect to HTTPS, which you haven't set up, and then anyway, bypass that headache. Leave it in there, but just comment it out to start with. And then And if after this, if people want to know how I set up on the Mac, set up the Go stuff, it's fairly straightforward. But let's do. All right, so. And here, I'll bump that up too. So the command when you're using the App Engine SDK for Go is go app, and you just say go app deploy. And actually, you can test it too if you want, but deploy will require login and things like that, which I've already done. I think we'll see. Yeah. So there's a lot of going on behind the scenes. There's some versioning and stuff that I'll have to go adjust in the Cloud Console because I have it set to do version 2, I think. But once that's done, so then if I go in a browser and go to gdgtriangle.com. Okay, so this is kind of my test to know that my code is up there serving. And then if you really want to have a little fun, you just type in your challenge. Of course, I can never remember it. And it should essentially just parrot it back to you. And there it is. Okay, so that's up working. So now you go back to your Cloud Shell, wherever we were. There we go. And you hit continue. And essentially, once you've grabbed that, since there's 2 domains, it's going to ask you to do both. So if you were potentially securing a bunch of different disparate sites, you would need to do this for each one. But since it's all on one system, it'll respond with the same thing. All right, so now it's going to go do the challenge, and this is the moment of truth. Congratulations. All right. So now, under normal circumstances, you would go grab the certificate file and handle. Let's see here. So this has been a pain point for me, and maybe it's probably something that there's a simple solution for. I don't really know that I have, but essentially what you end up doing is you have to. Let's see if I can find it here. You have to convert the private key to the right format for App Engine, and that someone who's smarter than I am probably could figure out a better way to do this. But essentially, you convert it with this string, and I found this. I have a link I'll put on the repo. Do this, and let's see. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's why. It'll put this out, and this is persistent. So if you go to renew and stuff, you don't really need to run through the whole thing every time. It should pick it up that you're doing those domains. I haven't done it without refreshing it the whole time, but okay. So here you can steal my private key. I'm sure that's really secure. But essentially, I take this and I dump it into a text editor just to make sure I get it right. Okay. And you do need, if you're not familiar with SSL certs, you do need the start and end text, or it won't work right. So there's my private key, and then you'll also need. I think it was on there. So this was one thing where I started, so there, and I don't really know why, but there's two different chains that you get, and one has like one block and the full chain has two blocks. And someone who knows more may be able to answer this, but I had to do full chain or Firefox and IE didn't work again. And I don't know if it's just the way that they handle certificates or something, but all right, so that was my private one. This is my public. What was the last? Let's see. And you can see where the pain point is. If you have to do this when the text is gigantic, it doesn't really all fit on the screen. And we'll see if this is going to work for us. This is definitely the most error-prone part, because if you don't copy and paste right, it's not going to work. So that's where I'm pretty sure there's probably command line stuff that you could go do to register this, or API calls. Okay, so now I have private key and the full public key. So now when you go into your project, so you can really close, you're done, that you've got your certificate at this point, so you're all set. Now you just have to go put it on your app. And so in the settings, so custom domains, so I guess I should have said this at first. If you don't care about custom domains, you get secure because your app is hosted at like GDG Triangle Web. In this case, it would be GDG Triangle Web.appspot.com. And so AppSpot's a secure site. They already have certificates and stuff for that. This is more the case of you want to have a nice domain for someone to send someone to. So in this case, I've got GDG Triangle, and then I can add my certificate here. Oh, which expired. I am renewing it. Great. And so in this case, I'm going to upload a new one. And we'll call it Let's Encrypt. Okay. And then I take, so here's the public key. So I'm going to grab that. And the private key, grab that. Now you guys all typed that down, right? You're going to steal my secure stuff. And then once, as long as it's formatted, if it's not formatted properly, it'll tell you. But as long as it's formatted properly, then it'll parse out what domains you're securing, and then you just click save. And I don't know if there's any reason to keep the old ones, so I just delete them after I renew it. And then, so there's one last step. So now, if we go to GDG Triangle, it works. If we type in HTTPS, it's secured. But there's one thing we want, and you could probably do this. If you don't care, you don't have to do this. The last step, I only want them to go on HTTPS, right? So the last thing is to go uncomment that. And then do my deploy. And this is something where the interaction between the 90 days, there's probably a better way to do this so that it would, a flat file that you just post somewhere, and then you can just edit it manually and then not have to go through the rigmarole of deploy every time. But in this case, so now I'm deploying it and should return. Okay. And so now if I do non-secure, It forwards me to secure. Ta-da! And I didn't even have one prepared ahead of time. That's great. Are there any questions? I kind of whipped through it, or anything you want to see in any of these products at all? And I guess I should check on the live stream here too. Anything you need me to go back and like make bigger or bolder? Okay. I'll just real quickly, I'll show. So let's see, where was it? So Let's Encrypt goes through like a consortium of different providers apparently, and then they act as the final authority. And so I don't know how that makes it legitimate, because it seems like it's kind of like third-party certificates, but it works. And so like, oh yeah. Oh, that's not the right one. There we go. So it says, I believe it says Let's Encrypt and then lists the third party. I can't make that bigger. So it's issued by Let's Encrypt Authority X3. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's 90 days, and then if you are on a host that has the right type of access, you really just type Let's Encrypt auto and then renew. It'll kick up, and I think you can do it on a different port. But since you're in a container, the port isn't open. So if you had access to another port, you could just say Let's Encrypt renew and then give it a port number to host it on. And then it'll host its own web server, go do all the authentication. You don't even, all that typing and stuff is done. Pretty handy though. So like, just show of hands, those of you who said you needed certificates for stuff, how many think you'll probably use Let's Encrypt in the next week or two? And so this goes hand in hand with things like if you're wanting to do mobile apps too. I think as far as custom domains on cloud platform goes, this works across the board. So I think as long as you have the custom domain and it's responding to requests, you can secure them using the same method. App Engine is the part that I know that goes from my machine up and hosts it on Google's hardware. I would imagine that you can do the same thing if you have custom domains for any of the other stuff that you're using. Cool. Well, that's all I had. I have some stickers and T-shirts, old T-shirts. If anyone wants to take them, I have, I think, 2 larges and 2 extra larges. If you're in the market for a free T-shirt, you're welcome to those. The stickers are up here. Does anyone have any questions about the GDG like our group? Okay. We will be probably putting on another conference in fall called DevFest. Last year we did it at the North Carolina School of Science and Math, which I think we'll try to do again. It's a fun time. It's open. DevFest itself is not for Google stuff as much as just bringing developers together. So be on the lookout. Our Google Plus page and Meetup are going to be where we announce things like that. And if you're interested in joining us on a Tuesday, or if you have a topic that you'd like to have covered on one of our meetings, send us an email or a Google Plus link or whatever contact method you want, and we can try to find speakers to cover things too, or if you're interested in speaking as well. All right, thank you very much.